I left my cheating billionaire fiancé and walked into the night with nothing. I thought I met a homeless man on a park bench who finally saw the real me. I married him in a broken-down church, only to find out he owns the entire city. My name is Jessica, and this is how my nightmare became a dream. Silent Storm. Under the crystal chandelier, Jessica's world was shattering like glass. A faint breeze leaking through the balcony doors stirred the expensive curtains, but inside, the silence was as sharp as a blade. The city lights filtered through the window, spreading across the marble floor like drops of gold. But in Jessica's eyes, there was only darkness, a deep, suffocating, all-consuming darkness. The voice of her fiancé, Marcus, drifted in from another room. It was low, intimate, filled with a tenderness that belonged to someone else. Jessica didn't dare peek through the crack in the door. She just listened. The woman's laughter, Marcus's whispers, and the sound of her own heart breaking in her chest. The ground beneath her feet felt like it was slipping away. Her hands trembled. She forgot to breathe. Then suddenly, everything became clear, painfully clear. Marcus had never spoken to Jessica with that kind of softness. The words he said to that woman were the ones Jessica had waited years to hear, but they had never come. Instead, there had been condescending looks, cold criticisms, silent humiliations. "If only you were a bit more elegant," he had once said in front of his family, for everyone to hear. "My family doesn't approve of you," he'd said another time, as if Jessica were an object being appraised, waiting for a seal of approval. Jessica had tried harder every time, smoothed her edges, molded herself for him, but it was never enough. Now she understood. The problem wasn't her. The problem was that Marcus had never loved her. Jessica turned away. Her footsteps echoed on the marble, but no one heard. No one noticed. She took the elevator, reached the lobby, and stepped out through the hotel's revolving doors. The night cold hit her face, but she felt nothing. The city lights swirled around her. People passed by, but Jessica was in another dimension, sinking silently into the depths of pain, betrayal, and loneliness. She walked. She walked for hours. She didn't know where she was going. It didn't matter. Her feet ached. Her high heels stung with every step on the stone pavement, but she didn't stop. "If I stop, I might collapse," she thought. "If I stop, I'll cry. If I stop, I'll lose myself." She stopped under a street lamp. The light fell over her in a pale yellow hue. The noise of the city didn't reach here, only the distant sound of a car, a dog barking, the wind rustling the trees. Jessica pulled her phone from her pocket. The screen flickered. A message from Marcus. "Where are you? You're late for the double date dinner." Double date. Marcus's family. Those fake smiles again, those judging eyes, that "you're not good enough" atmosphere. Jessica turned off the phone. She let it drop from her hand. The screen shattered, but it made no sound. She simply took a deep breath and kept walking. She stopped by a park bench. It was old, painted, with a broken corner. A man was sitting on it. His hair was messy, his clothes were worn out, but there was a strange peace on his face. He held a small book, trying to read under the dim light. Jessica looked at him. The man looked up. His eyes were dark, but deep and sincere. "Are you okay?" the man asked. His voice was low, but genuine. "I'm better than I've ever been," she said. The man closed his book and stood up. He was tall, standing straight, but his clothes looked like they didn't belong to him, as if he had borrowed them from another life. "Sometimes," he said, The worst moments give birth to the best decisions. Jessica looked at him. Who was this man? Why was he here? Why was he talking to her? But the questions didn't matter, because in the man's voice there was an understanding, an acceptance. He hadn't questioned or belittled Jessica's pain. He had simply seen it. "My name is Albert," he said. "Jessica," she replied. Two strangers in the middle of the night in a lost park looked at each other, and in that moment, something shifted inside Jessica. It was a small, almost imperceptible change, but it was there. The next morning, when Jessica awoke, she was in a hotel room. There was a note by her bed. From Marcus. "Where were you yesterday? This relationship is basically over. My family wants me to leave you anyway. You aren't worthy of me." The words danced on the paper. Jessica read them, then read them again, but she felt nothing. No pain, no anger. Just a void. A cold, deep void. Her phone rang. An unknown number. She answered. "Jessica," a voice said. It was familiar. It was Albert. "How did you get my number?" Jessica asked. "It doesn't matter," Albert said. "Can you come somewhere with me today?" Jessica hesitated. This was madness, following a stranger. But her life was already mad. It was already shattered. What more could she lose? "Okay," she said. Albert took her to an old building on the edge of the city. The building looked abandoned. Windows were broken, paint was peeling. But inside, it was different. It was clean, organized. There was old furniture in one corner, books on the walls, a cup of coffee on the table. "What is this place?" Jessica asked. "My home," Albert said. Jessica looked around. It wasn't rich, but there was a warmth inside, a warmth she had never felt in Marcus's apartment. "Why did you bring me here?" Jessica asked. Albert walked to the window and looked out. "Because you lost something," he said, "and I lost something too. Maybe we can find it together." Jessica looked at him. This man was so strange, but at the same time so real. He wasn't fake like Marcus. He wasn't a liar like Marcus. Days passed. Jessica and Albert continued to see each other. They walked in parks, they sat in old cafes, they read books in silence. They didn't talk much, but they understood each other. Albert never told Jessica to be better. He never told her to change. He was just there. One evening, Jessica asked him a question. "Who are you, really?" Albert paused. There was a long silence. Then he smiled. "Just a man," he said. But that day, Jessica noticed something. The marks on Albert's wrists. Marks left by an expensive watch. A faint line on his finger, like someone who used to wear a ring. That depth in his eyes. Lost, but having seen so much. Jessica didn't ask. Maybe she shouldn't. Maybe everyone had secrets. A week later, Marcus called again. "Come back," he said. "I made a mistake. I love you." Jessica listened silently. There was no emotion in her voice. "No," she said. "What?" Marcus was shocked. "No," Jessica repeated. "I won't be with you." Marcus grew angry. "Are you crazy? What will you do without me? You'll be penniless and alone." Jessica smiled. For the first time, she truly smiled. "Maybe," she said, "but at least I'll be at peace." And she hung up. That night, Albert invited her to dinner. It was a small restaurant in a quiet corner outside the city. Candles were lit, soft music was playing, the atmosphere was warm. Albert looked at her. "I have something to tell you," he said. Jessica waited. "I'm not homeless," Albert said. "I mean, I wasn't. I had a company, a big one, but everything spiraled out of control. The competition, the pressure, the phoniness. I lost myself, so I left everything. I got lost, to find myself." Jessica listened in silence. "And I found you," Albert said. "You reminded me of what I was living for. You showed me what is real." Jessica's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry. She just reached out and touched Albert's hand. "Will you marry me?" Albert asked. Jessica was surprised, but within the surprise there was a truth, a clarity. She had been with Marcus for years, but had never felt like this. It had only been a few weeks with Albert, but everything felt so right. "Yes," she said. Their wedding was simple, in a small church with only a few witnesses. Jessica wore a white dress, but it was modest. Albert wore a clean suit, but it was old. But they were both laughing, truly laughing. When the priest said, "I do," Jessica took a deep breath. For the first time in her life, she felt free. But after the wedding, the door opened. A man walked in. His suit was flawless, his glasses gleamed, and he held a folder in his hand. "Mr. Thornton, the board is looking for you. The meeting is urgent." Jessica froze. "Mr. Thornton?" she repeated. Albert turned. There was a strange expression on his face. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't regret. It was just acceptance. "Jessica," he said slowly, "there's one more thing I need to tell you." The man opened the folder. Inside was a photo. It was Albert, but he looked very different. He was wearing a sharp suit, his hair was neat, and he was standing in an office. Behind him was a massive logo, Thornton Enterprises. Jessica looked at the folder, then at Albert, then at the man. "You," she said. Her voice trembled. "You are the CEO of the Thornton Group?" Albert nodded silently. Jessica stepped back. Her hands began to shake. "Did you lie to me?" "No," Albert said firmly. "I never lied to you. When I met you, I had left everything. I really wanted to be lost. But after meeting you, everything changed. You taught me how to live again." "But you didn't tell me." Jessica's voice rose. "Because I was afraid," Albert said. "I was afraid that if you found out who I was, you'd see me differently, just like everyone else, for the money, for the status. But you loved me for who I am. For the first time, someone truly saw me." Tears began to stream down Jessica's cheeks. She was angry, but she was also trying to understand. "Go," she said finally. Her voice was broken. "Please go." Albert looked at her for a long time. Then he turned and walked out. The door closed. Silence returned. Jessica collapsed to the floor. She cried, but this time it was different. It wasn't like when she cried for Marcus, because this time, what she lost was real. It was a real connection, real love. Days passed. Jessica was alone again. Albert didn't call. He didn't text. It was as if he had vanished. But one morning, there was a knock on the door. When Jessica opened it, a woman was standing there, elegant, professional, with a serious expression. "Miss Jessica," the woman said, "I am Albert Thornton's assistant. I need to speak with you." Jessica let her in. The woman sat down and pulled out a file. "Mr. Thornton apologizes, but he has to tell you the truth. He really had walked away from everything. His family, the company, everyone had declared him missing. But after meeting you, he decided to return, to fix the company, to lead it the right way, the way you inspired him to." Jessica listened in silence. "And," the woman said, "he left something for you." She handed over a folder. Inside was a letter in Albert's handwriting. "Jessica, forgive me for deceiving you, but please know that every moment I spent with you was real. Every word was real. Every feeling was real. I love you, but I am setting you free because you deserve that. You deserve a choice. If you can forgive me, if you want to come back, my door is always open. But if you want to leave, I will never stop you. You are my greatest gift, and I don't want to be your greatest mistake. I will always love you. Albert. As Jessica read the letter, her eyes filled again, but she didn't cry. She just took a deep breath. "Can you take me to him?" she asked. The woman smiled. "Of course." The car went to the city center, to a massive building, a glass skyscraper reaching for the clouds. Thornton Enterprises was written at the entrance. Jessica went inside. She took the elevator. She went to the top floor. When the door opened, she saw an office. Large, bright, with panoramic windows, and in front of the window stood Albert. He was wearing a suit, but his face was the same, those deep, sincere eyes. Jessica looked at him. There was a long silence. "Do you forgive me?" Albert asked softly. Jessica walked. She walked toward him. She stopped. She reached out and touched Albert's face. "You never deceived me," she said, "because you were always you. Whether you were poor or rich, you were always Albert, and I loved you for who you are." Albert smiled, and Jessica hugged him. The city lights sparkled outside, but inside, two hearts beat silently, together, at peace, finally. Months passed. Jessica and Albert worked together. They fixed the company, they made honest business deals, they valued people. And every day they loved each other more. One day, Marcus came to the corporate building for a meeting. He wanted to see Albert. Jessica was sitting in the office. The door opened. Marcus walked in. He saw Jessica. He froze. "Jessica?" he said, disbelieving. "Hello, Marcus," Jessica said calmly. Marcus looked around. The luxury office, the prestigious company, the powerful position. What are you doing here?" "I am Mrs. Thornton," Jessica said proudly. Marcus's face changed. Shock, anger, jealousy. You married that homeless man?" "Yes," Jessica said, "and it was the best decision of my life." Albert walked in. He looked at Marcus. "Our meeting is canceled," he said coldly. "My company does not work with dishonest people." Marcus grew angry, but couldn't say a word. Because Albert was right. Marcus had lost Jessica. Forever. Marcus left and never returned. That night, Jessica and Albert went home. It was a large house, but simply decorated, with Jessica's style and Albert's peace. There was warmth inside, reality, love. "Are you happy?" Albert asked. Jessica hugged him. "I'm very happy," she said. "Everything is perfect with you." Albert looked at her. "You saved me," he said. "You found me when I was lost. You were the light when I was in darkness." "No," Jessica said. "We saved each other." And they kissed, a long, deep, real kiss. Years later, they were still together. The company had grown and become successful, but most importantly, Jessica and Albert were happy, truly happy, because their story was the story of two lost souls finding each other. Out of pain and betrayal, love and reality had been born, and now they both knew. True wealth wasn't in your pocket, it was in your heart. True power wasn't in your position, it rested in your love. Jessica had found the peace she could never find with Marcus. She had learned that true love is tested not only by presence, but also by absence. And Albert had gained back everything he had lost because Jessica had loved him in his purest form, and they both knew now. True love was unconditional. True love doesn't change you, it accepts you as you are. And true love exists despite everything. Jessica looked out the window. The city lights were glowing, but she wasn't afraid of them anymore because Albert was by her side, and together they could overcome anything. And so, two lost souls had finally found their home, in each other's arms, in each other's hearts, forever. Thank you for listening. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next story.